Will Alex Verdugo be on the Boston Red Sox to start the 2024 season? A lot of questions have been raised in the last couple months as we break it all down on today's episode of Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, to your favorite podcast platform. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Swing for the fences on Sleeper picks, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. Hope you have had a fantastic week and that you're having a wonderful Friday. I am so excited to bring you another episode of the show. Don't forget, you don't have to miss a single pitch of Red Sox baseball if you download the SiriusXM app. Just download the app and search Red Sox, and all of the NESN broadcasts will come up for all of the Red Sox games, so you don't have to stress about missing a single pitch. It's honestly fantastic for people like me who can't stand to miss a pitch. So check that out. Download the app and search Red Sox. The raising question of the day today surrounds Alex Verdugo. He's been a big topic of conversation over the last couple months. He had a great first half of the 2023 season, an all-star caliber first half, and then started to fall off and come to earth a little bit in the second half. He defensively has been very good, and he's made some really nice plays in the second half. But at the plate, he really just hasn't been able to figure it out. He's hitting .273 with 61 runs and 44 RBIs, 8 home runs to go in there. He has an on-base percentage of .345 and a .771 OPS. I'm worried about his plate appearances and it carrying over. I truly thought that he was just in a slump, but he'll have games where he'll string together a hit or two, but he hasn't made a huge impact at the plate since the All-Star break. For multiple reasons, I feel like the Red Sox won't extend him. He is going into a season where it's a contract year. So for him, this is the time for the Red Sox to decide, do they want to get something for him or do they want to let him walk in free agency if they don't see him as being a part of the organization long term? Just based on the lack of conversation the Red Sox have had with him at all surrounding an extension, I don't get the impression that they're interested in extending him and that they don't see him being a longer-term piece of the organization. I think he enjoys playing in Boston, and I think he would be open to an extension, but it doesn't seem to me like the Red Sox are as open to it because there's been nothing that has discussed an extension with him, no mention of it, and the urgency just doesn't seem to be there. Why they didn't trade him at this past trade deadline to me feels like they have players coming back and they feel like he can contribute. And also, if they had traded him, then they'd be down an outfielder. So he kind of is needed at this moment for the Red Sox. But also just, it seems like he needs extra push and motivation from Alex Cora. He has gotten benched a couple times this season for his lack of hustle or for not being on time to the ballpark. Do the Red Sox really want that type of attitude around the clubhouse? How much is it hindering the Red Sox overall as a squad? Alex Cora does it in hopes to motivate him to do better and improve. he's a very fun guy, it seems like, and he's really energetic and keeps the clubhouse overall level up during games. But what's going on behind the scenes? Does he have an attitude that brings everybody else in the clubhouse down? That's a question that the Red Sox need to go over and answer. On an episode earlier this week, I had said the Red Sox need to figure out their outfield situation for 2024. If it doesn't include Verdugo, then would they just have Refsnyder as that fourth primary outfielder? Because this year, the four primary outfielders are Verdugo, Yoshida, Duvall, and Duran. They've been rotating through, and if a lefty is starting, then Refsnyder's been playing. So do they just not have Verdugo in the picture and kind of increase Refsnyder's role a little bit to be a more regular fourth outfielder? That's something that needs to be explored. Refsnyder is a lefty machine. He hits incredibly well against left-handed pitching and provides a lot of value. So I am team Refsnyder. I have been for a while. I've said this for a while, but I'm not saying it's a black and white situation of Verdugo versus Refsnyder. It's more of, do they see the potential in all of these outfielders that I just listed to be able to be a key piece for the future? I think it's becoming pretty obvious that Duran is going to be a key piece of the future with how he's been playing, as he should be. He's still young and still has so much potential. So he should absolutely be a piece that they are moving forward with. When it comes to Verdugo, he seems to enjoy playing here. And for him, it might be a hard pill to swallow. But if I'm the Red Sox, because of the level of talent overall that he's displayed in the organization, I would want to move him and get something for him as opposed to letting him walk in free agency. If the Red Sox really wanted to extend him, I feel like we would see more urgency now. I thought earlier on in the season there was a chance they would extend him because he was playing so well. But now that he's fallen off a little bit, the question to me really is he going to be able to get back to the level of productivity that he had before? And I still think, despite the fact that he's fallen off, they can still get a decent return for him. It wouldn't be the best return, but it would be decent pieces that they can use in the system to hopefully develop into players of the future. So the Red Sox, I believe, will answer this question for us really soon. Is Alex Verdugo part of the Red Sox future? Is he on the move? I think the answer is yes, he is on the move. I think we really potentially could see a trade happen at the end of the 2023 season that includes Verdugo for a set of prospects. And it's tough to say because I was very excited when the Red Sox acquired Verdugo in the Mookie trade. I thought he'd have so much potential here in Boston. But if the future of the team involves other ideas, then their best bet to me would be to trade him, then let him go through the 2024 season and become a free agent and then walk and go elsewhere, because Verdugo overall is a good baseball player. He's made some absolute great plays defensively, as I mentioned, and offensively overall, he has been able to hit. Maybe being with the Red Sox has deterred his growth a little bit because maybe it just hasn't been the best spot for him from a growth standpoint. There's a lot of pressure of playing in Boston, but there was a lot riding on him when he came here because he was the biggest piece the Red Sox acquired in that Mookie trade. So he came here and was expected to perform, and that type of pressure can be a lot for a player. So if they were to turn him around for prospects, maybe he'll find success elsewhere, but that needs to happen soon. They need to decide, is he somebody who we think is worth keeping around? And to me at this point, he is not. And I feel like the Red Sox feel that way because there has not been the urgency to figure it out. So my answer is no. I don't think he starts the season in 2024 in a Red Sox uniform, but only the Red Sox can tell us whether they feel that way or they value him more than I'm thinking. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about a player that I think they absolutely should and will extend beyond his contract now. I'm going to be breaking down some details of his contract and why he should be extended coming up next. Who doesn't love making daily picks for money? I know I do. I certainly always feel like I can use more money. Who wouldn't, just for fun vacations, or maybe it's just saving money for a big purchase that you're going to make down the line. More money definitely always helps you, and Sleeper is the way to go for your daily baseball fantasy picks. Do you want the chance to win more money with less picks? Head to Sleeper, where you can win up to 100 times your money on just 2 or more fantasy baseball picks. The app gives you a lot of different options of players that are playing that night, and you can basically go to those picks and decide, is this player going to get 3 hits tonight, or is this player going to record over 2 strikeouts tonight? If it's a very strikeout and home run heavy hitter, the chances of them striking out twice could be a possibility. So if you look at all of the players on there, you can make your daily picks on certain players and you can win big. All you have to do is choose 2 or more players, and if you get your picks right, then you can win big money. Use promo code LOCKEDON and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. Absolutely check out Sleeper. It's a great daily fantasy product and game of skill to basically test, your knowledge of making good picks, and it will challenge you, but it absolutely will hook you up with big money if you get your picks right. The Red Sox 2023 ace of the pitching staff is Brayan Bello. If you look at the general pool of starting pitchers in baseball, he's more like a number 2 to me with where he's at right now in terms of his development, but he absolutely can down the road develop into a number 1 true ace caliber starter. I still think the Red Sox in this offseason need to prioritize spending on the starting rotation and acquire a true number 1 starting pitcher to go along with Bello, but that would be a crazy 1-2 punch. There's a unique situation with Brayan Bello's contract because he hasn't hit 3 years of service yet. He's not eligible for arbitration until after 2025. You have to have had 3 years of service time in the league before you can hit arbitration. The arbitration period basically means that the team and the player each propose a salary number that they want, and then they propose their salaries to a team of arbitrators, and then basically the salary gets worked out that way. So he's not eligible for that period yet, and he also doesn't become a free agent until 2028. So technically, looking at those numbers, there's no rush to get a deal done with him, but the Red Sox absolutely cannot lose him. He's a true homegrown starting pitcher that seems to really be developing into something special. That's such a valuable asset to have in any organization. You want to have a player like that who is a good teammate and seems to really be supportive of everybody. He's also expressed that he wants to stay in Boston. He said he doesn't want to discuss any contract negotiations or extensions until after the 2023 season is over, but that Boston is the organization that gave him a chance to really be somebody, so he wants to stay. Those are powerful words. It says a lot if a player feels comfortable playing in your organization and wants to stay, and the Red Sox really gave Bello a chance. They saw something in him and basically signed him as an international free agent and felt like he had the potential. And that's truly special because he really has not disappointed the Red Sox in terms of what he's done. He's improved his pitching repertoire significantly this season, and he has a lot of different pitches that he can throw out there to fool hitters. I mean, he had a very, very strong outing against the best offense in baseball, the Texas Rangers, a few weeks back. He shows so much potential in what he can do. So when it comes to this contract, by the time he hits arbitration, that's a huge amount of power that you're giving to the player to basically negotiate the contract higher. It makes more financial sense for the Red Sox to extend him before it gets to that time, because then they can get him on a really valuable deal before it becomes more and more expensive. And just waiting till he hits free agency another 5 years from now is just absolutely out of the question, because as we've seen, players are getting an absolute haul in free agency right now if they're worth that kind of money. So the Red Sox don't want to get to the point where he hits free agency in 2028 and they're trying to negotiate a deal and he's not settling because he knows he deserves and will get more money elsewhere. So that's what they absolutely want to avoid. But the primary reason I'd like to see them work out an extension in this offseason is before he hits that arbitration period where he has more control in terms of the actual salary negotiations that he could be receiving. So he'll only increase his earnings power as he gets closer to the arbitration period and then can earn more money later on. So essentially, the Red Sox right now have Trevor Story and Masataka Yoshida's contracts on the books for the next few years through 2027. The Devers contract goes through 2033, but after 2028, he's the only guaranteed contract the Red Sox have right now. So by extending Bello now, they would not only prove their belief in him and his ability, which could significantly increase his confidence level as he moves forward with his time in Boston, but he could also start to earn a little bit less at the beginning of the contract. So then by the time the situations come for Story and Yoshida, when it's their time to hit free agency and the Red Sox start to decide whether they're worth bringing back, the likelihood of bringing them back on it as expensive as a contract is significantly thin, especially Trevor Story with the injury struggles that he's had and where he is at in his career. It just logically might not make sense. So by the time Bello has to make more money on that contract, they can structure it so that he's making the more expensive parts of his contract on the later end of that. So the Red Sox have a lot of flexibility right now. The most flexibility that they would have when it comes to a Bello extension. So if they want to keep him in the organization long term, which I suspect that they do, because with the lack of pitching depth the Red Sox have right now is the time to really invest in the starting rotation, because that is the biggest glaring weakness for the Red Sox right now. That is the difference between making them a contender and a non-contender. If they prioritize extending Bello and finding another starter that can be in the front of that rotation, then we're truly looking at what can be a World Series contending team based on the way the rest of the team has been performing. So this is the time now when the Red Sox are in the driver's seat and have total control over this Bello situation to work something out so that they can sit pretty longer term and know they have him locked up and he can continue to improve without the pressure and talk of the media surrounding an extension and what the Red Sox are going to do. So now is the time after this season is over to immediately start those conversations and hopefully work something out before the 2024 season starts, because long term, it's only going to be better for the Red Sox. And we can all admit that Bello truly is a special piece to this Red Sox team, and he's shown no signs of concern or slowing down. So for years to come, he could be that diamond in the rough for the Red Sox. Coming up next, I'm going to be talking about a couple other contracts that the Red Sox need to keep in mind and consider as they truly shape out their roster for 2024, deciding who's going to be on it and who's not. So that's coming up next. Don't forget that SiriusXM has you covered for all Red Sox broadcasts. Just download the SiriusXM app and search Red Sox, and all the NESN broadcasts will be there for you, so you don't have to miss a single game or even a single pitch of Red Sox baseball. Who doesn't want to miss, or who would want to miss a Bello start? I know I wouldn't. So definitely download the SiriusXM app. Don't forget as well that you can follow me on social media at Gabby Hurlbut 10 on Twitter, or at Gabby_Hurlbut 10 on Instagram, and continue the conversation about the Red Sox that way. I've actually had a variety of different people who have reached out surrounding different things that have gone on throughout the season, whether I think the Red Sox, have a realistic chance to be a wild card team with the rest of this season and their schedule, or whether Devers will live up to his contract for the whole period of it. Whatever your question is, or whatever you want to talk about, I'm always open to doing it. I'm very active on social media, so definitely follow me on those platforms, and also follow Locked On Red Sox on Twitter at LO_Red Sox, and we will have a great time talking about the team there as well. So the Red Sox do have some decisions to make as they head into 2024 with current players on the roster. I, on a previous episode, talked about general needs for the team and what they need to address in 2024, and some free agents that could be a good fit with the team. But there are some players currently on the team that there needs to be a conversation about whether they should be on the team next season. James Paxton is the biggest name that pops in my head as a player who they need to evaluate. He's obviously been a big surprise and a huge help for the Red Sox since coming off the injured list this year, and has been extremely effective in the majority of his starts. But he is slated to be a free agent after this season. After 2022, he exercised his player option basically to stay with the Red Sox in 2023 because he enjoyed being here. The Red Sox chose not to exercise their team option because they likely were worried about his injury history and whether he would even be able to pitch. But he came back and has been a true stud out of the Red Sox rotation this year. But the question becomes, how much more does he really have in the tank? And can you truly rely on him to be healthy? Do the Red Sox want to add another year on, maybe sign him to another 1-year deal while they're shaping out the rotation? Are they going to extend him, or are they just going to let him go in free agency? Again, this is all dependent on what they do with the pitching staff in the offseason. I think they can afford to let Paxton walk and find one or two other starters to slate into the rotation to go along with Houck, Bello, and Sale for one more year. And whether they want to keep Paxton for another 1 year and wait till 2025 to really invest in the starting rotation and acquire a couple more pitchers, that's still to be said. But that is a player that there needs to be a conversation about. I think it doesn't make sense to bring Paxton back again. I just think it's too risky with where he's at in his career right now to rely on Paxton being a true asset to the rotation moving forward. I think we're getting the best we can possibly get from him right now in 2023, and he was determined to come back and pitch in 2023, and he's shown that he had the ability to come out and be effective this year, but I don't think he would be as effective next year. And I think it'd be in the Red Sox best interest to explore other options rather than having Paxton stay. Somebody else, though, on the other hand, who is a free agent is Adam Duvall. I feel a little bit differently about Duvall than I do Paxton. Duvall, to me, has been super effective offensively for the Red Sox and has made a huge difference. And there is a reason they didn't trade him at the trade deadline, because they believe that he was too valuable to the team currently right now. And I also feel like the packages they were going to get in return for him were probably a little underwhelming. So they chose to not pull the trigger on that. But I would like to see them give Duvall another year, because he's just been so good in the Red Sox offense. And especially if they do decide that they're going to move Verdugo until they figure out another long-term situation with the outfield, he should be that bridge guy, because there are some outfielders in the system that are talented and have the potential to come up in the next couple of years. But until that happens, they do need somebody to be reliable in the outfield. And I do think Duvall is a good choice because of how well he's been hitting and just how much he's really done for the Red Sox offensively this year. And his defense isn't bad either. So he's a proven player who likely won't cost a lot of money for 2024. So that's going to be an interesting name, because the fact that they didn't trade him at the trade deadline makes me feel like maybe they see some more value there than people thought, because it seemed pretty obvious to me going into 2023 that he was meant to be used as a rental. But then Bloom decided not to move him at the deadline because he's just so valuable in what he does. And even when he was on the injured list, it was noticeable the difference that he does make. He played in the first few games of the season and then got injured. And the start he had was unbelievable in the first week or so of the season. He was really tearing it up at the plate. Then he got injured. And now that he's come back, he still is making a difference at the plate. And it's obvious to me that the Red Sox didn't want to lose that and lose that productivity. So are they going to have that same mindset heading into the 2024 offseason? Do they see Duvall as a piece that they need on their team longer term? And by longer term, I mean maybe in the next 1 to 2 years. Or do they see an outfielder in their system that could be ready to come up next year? I think there's a solid chance that Duvall gets another year here, more so of a chance than I think James Paxton does. And James Paxton, I think it really comes down to health more. And whether they do decide to keep Paxton or not, I think it'll only be 1 year. Whereas Duvall, I could see it being 2. But the reality at the end of the day is these decisions are coming up with these veteran players, and the Red Sox need to decide who of those players are worth it to keep and who of them are not. Adalberto Mondesi, a lot of people forget he's even on the roster. He's going to be a free agent. I think they should just let him walk. He hasn't played at all this season. He struggles with health. And, the Red Sox don't really need him. He doesn't need to be part of the future. He was just meant to be a rental, just like several others on this team. And obviously they were hoping to get something from him, some productivity. And it's unfortunate that he's been injured, but that's another player. I think that's an easy decision. Just let him walk, especially with the fact that the Red Sox middle infield is really starting to come together. You don't want, players on the roster who are going to kind of sit around and just be injured all season. So I think that's an easy decision. But those are key names to look out for as we head into the 2024 offseason, and the Red Sox are hopefully addressing the areas that I've mentioned previously of need. But I don't think we see all of those players on the Red Sox roster starting in 2024. And the Verdugo pill would be hard to swallow if he is not on the team anymore. But ultimately, for the Red Sox future, is he really somebody that deserves a ton of money? Because we know if he does hit free agency next year, he's going to demand a ton of money. And I don't really feel that he's shown that he deserves a really expensive extension. So because of that, I think there is a good chance he gets moved this offseason. But we'll see what happens. Only the Red Sox can decide what to do about these players with, questionable contracts. What's their future like with this team when it comes to 2024? But please get a Bello extension done this winter. That would make me ecstatic. He is a special player, a diamond in the rough, as I like to call it. And the Red Sox don't want to drop the ball on that. So keep the faith. Let's hope they make the right moves. Let's go Red Sox. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will catch you on the flip side.